Hi guys, XYZ, and for this installment of The Good and the Bad, I wanted to do a new game, but honestly I'm kind of running a little low on time this week, so I decided to just continue from Ehrgeiz, God Bless the Ring, and with that, I'm just going to talk about the side game, The Forsaken Dungeon. And the Forsaken Dungeon is a action RPG where you're essentially are playing as two archaeologists who are exploring a dungeon with multiple levels, and pretty much you're just kind of discovering the mysteries behind the dungeon. And considering it's just a side game to the actual main fighting game Ehrgeiz, it's actually pretty decent. I mean, it's not like a full fledged out RPG game. It's not like a Final Fantasy, but I think it can give you at least a good 6 to 8 hours of entertainment. So let's take a look at it. Well, for the good, at least mechanically speaking, it does function very similar to a traditional RPG. So you can level up your characters and increase your stats. I mean, you do have ways to attack and defend yourself. You even have a way to avoid enemies. Like a knockback maneuver, and you can even use materia. You can even use magic, and you can even perform a more powerful version of the type of materia that you have equipped. And I say the second good is well, if you're playing it on the normal difficulty, you can explore a small town, and with there you can actually deposit gold, to kind of save up for money to buy things. You can buy equipment, you can buy weapons, you can buy magic stones for your materia. I mean, you can get a lot of things to help prepare you for the dungeon. As the further you keep going down, the more difficult it gets. And a third one, at least a personal one for me, is the whole dungeon layout. At least for every level, it does vary, so it's not like it's the same layout the deeper you go into. And I do appreciate that. It just gives you a little bit of exploration. Makes you want to go out and explore every single room in each level to try to find any special related items or new weapons, gear, new materia, whatever. I do appreciate that. Well, when it comes to the bad, at least the first thing that comes to mind was the inventory system, as I remember having a hard time trying to manage that. I mean, you have very little space for your inventory, and with the fact that you have to have your weapons, your armor, some important related items, so you have to have materia, for your magic. You have to have food, for your hunger meter, and surprisingly, even money. There's just very little space to work with, and there are going to be plenty of times where you just kind of have to throw things out or just like consume most of your food on the spot. So it's just kind of a hassle. The second problem is there will be times where you're going to have to go in and out of the dungeon. You have to go back to outside to the town to try to restock on supplies and all that, and it just kind of takes you out of the game. I mean, you feel like you're doing a good job, like you want to explore more, but then you realize you're low on food or low on health, and then you have to somehow go all the way back. And unfortunately, there really is no easy way to travel back out of the dungeon. I mean, there are some spots within certain levels of the dungeon, but if you're nowhere near any of those levels, then you have to travel all the way back to a certain location. I mean, unless you can manage to stumble upon a dark wing, or I think it's called a dragon wing, that allows you to teleport instantly back. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to do a lot of backtracking. And then the third issue is the final boss, and that the final boss, it's not really hard, but it's just the stimulation that you're in. There are three forms of the final boss. After you defeat the second one, the main character that you're playing as at the time is gone. It's dead. You can't revive him anymore. So then you have to play as the second character, and more or less, you probably would have just been playing as that one character the entire time, leveling them up. So you're going to have to pretty much go through the entire dungeon the second time just to level up the character to defeat the third form of the final boss. And it really wouldn't be that bad if they had told you ahead of time that you're going to have to use both characters. But even so, it just kind of felt like it was just added padding, making you having to play both characters, or in a forceful way, I guess. I mean, I'm all in for leveling up multiple characters, but I kind of wish there was a better reason why I had to level up both of them. Well, for improvement wise, there are a couple of things I wish they could have done. For one of them is the inventory system, obviously, and I think that could have been easily done if they just allowed you to have like an unlimited space for your inventory. Allowing you to just carry as many items as you want. Now that really would have been helpful. And of course, second has to be a faster way of backtracking, to and from the dungeon. And honestly, I think the only thing that really comes to mind is if they allowed you to actually purchase those dragon wings in stores. Because with the dragon wing, it basically allows you to teleport anywhere from the dungeon back out to like the docks of the small town, the small village, and it really would be helpful. Especially during battles where it's just very tough and you need like a quick getaway. It really would have been helpful. That way I wouldn't have to go through dying so many times throughout the dungeon. Well, overall, I say the Forsaken Dungeon is a pretty good complement to the Ehrgeiz game. I mean, considering it's not even the main focus, it still does a pretty decent job. And I would say if you're not really too involved in RPGs, I'd say this is actually not a bad place to start. I mean, honestly, I would recommend better RPGs, for those getting into the genre. But since this is a Square game, I would say this is not a bad place for it. And with that, I will give it a final score of a 6 out of 10. It's a pretty decent RPG. It has all the same makings of any traditional RPG you'll find out there, but like at a slimmed down version. Well, this is Devil Hunter XYZ, and until next time.